Oh!
And we're back.
Thank
Hi,
you, everyone.
everyone.
Live at 6:30 from the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It's Aaron and Patrick.
Hello, Parker. My cousin Parker's on. Cheers.
Hi, y'all. Happy that you are with us today. It hit 6:30. It's go time.
Yeah, let's go.
It's like smack dab on time.
Yeah.
Nice to see you all. Yay. Welcome. By the way, if you randomly happen to be new to us, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Patrick.
And we're wearing the same shirt.
Oh God.
We didn't plan that.
That was not planned. But all right, there you go.
There we go.
Well, we are.
It's a good shirt.
It's a solid
It's
shirt.
a solid shirt. It's Ben Sherman. We
Yeah.
got it at Costco.
I know.
The 4-color pin. It's true. It's making its debut. This was a stocking stuffer from Patrick a few years ago.
We are so happy you are all with us, and today we're talking about jobs and
Yeah.
careers.
Just as we've changed sides. It must be something about the way the camera's facing because we're on our normal sides.
Yeah, we're sitting where we normally sit. Like, Aaron is to my right.
Yeah.
So,
The camera must be flipping it.
Yeah,
oh,
maybe-
sitting on the wrong sides. A lot of people have
oh,
said
how
it.
funny!
How funny.
Oh my God, should we switch?
I know. Should we move spots? Sorry to be throwing everybody. Yeah. How bizarre. Not
Yeah.
sure why that is, but yeah. So if you're new to us, I'm Aaron and this is Patrick. We're A&P Adventures. We have a lot of tours up on our page that you can check out all around New York City and a couple from beyond. And so disorienting. I'm sorry, Mark.
I don't. Should we switch?
I know. What's happening?
Also, wait, I just missed it. Was it Carol? Yes, Carol, you're finally live with us, and we're so happy that you are. Welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, we're happy you're with us today.
Oh, Mike, maybe it's a phone setting. I don't know. Who knows?
I know. The weird part is we're doing everything the same way we always do it.
Yeah, who knows?
Strange.
So we're sorry if we're throwing you by sitting on opposite sides,
Yeah.
but the truth is we're sitting on our normal side, but somehow the camera flipped it.
Yeah.
We are glad you're here.
Yeah, so like I was saying, we have a lot of tours that are up on our site that are all around New York City. Most recently, we had Union Square, a rerun from our Hago days that went up. We also had a really good short about one of our favorite chocolate chip cookies at
Oh.
Culture Espresso.
Yes.
Culture Espresso has a few locations, so if you're coming to New York and you want a really good chocolate chip cookie, it's one of them. It's fantastic.
There's a lot of good cookies in New York. There just are.
Yeah, Katie says it's P&A today instead of A&P.
Yeah, all right.
It's true.
P&A Adventures.
But in terms of what's coming up, we have a premiere that is scheduled to go live. That's on
Wednesday at noon, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized a tour was supposed to go live today that maybe didn't.
Oh.
A rerun of Coney Island,
Oh.
but yeah, it's Wednesday is going to be a premiere of Madison Square Park, and we will be live in the chat. I see somebody say hi. Oh, Mickey B's on
Mickey B!
in the house.
Oh, that's my brother from another mother in Maryland.
Yeah, and Justin too. Yay! So that's on Wednesday. That's Wednesday at noon, New York City time.
That's right.
So if you've never done one of the premieres, what happens is at noon that will go live, and we will be in the chat live with you, watching it at the same time. So if you have questions about what you're seeing, or comments, or you just want to hang out in the chat.
Yeah, hang out with us in the chat. We'll
Yeah.
be there just, making silly remarks.
Yeah. So Mike's camera says mirror fronts. We're doing it the same way as always.
How funny, Mike. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for that info. Maybe we hit something that was different. Who knows?
Thank you, Kay. Kate says Coney Island's there. Strangely, on my, I bet I have to refresh my page. It still says scheduled and not live on my page. But I'll tell the tech department. Tech department, can you get on that?
Yeah, come on, guys.
Yeah, seriously. We should probably
Hard.
pay them more.
And we should.
So anyway, that's what's been happening, what's coming up. Today's live conversation is about jobs and careers.
That's right. And, Aaron and I have had lots of survival jobs. working in theater over the years. You know, we're not always working. And, you know, if you work in theater, you learn to save when you're working, and so that gets you through the times when if you're not working. And but you know, oftentimes we'll try to pick up another job somewhere else when we're in between theater jobs. So I don't know. I think we haven't discussed this. Anytime we try to have a live discussion, we purposefully don't talk to each other about what we want to talk about, so that it feels, you know, fresh. But I can honestly say we both have worked in offices, in an office setting.
Yeah.
When I first moved to New York, I worked for a temp agency, and I would go and I'll be honest, they would say, "Can you do A, B, C, D, and E?" And I would say, "Yes, yes, 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 I can do that," and not really sure. And then I go like, "I'll figure it out when I get there."
I've never done a spreadsheet before in my life.
Yeah. So I had a lot of fun jobs and met a lot of fun people like that. I knew if I just got in the office, like I could just make people like me, and even if I was bad at my job, they would like help me out, and then I would, you know, figure it out. After a week, they'd keep me. So I worked for temp agencies when I first moved to New York.
I had that job recently where I did sort of administrative assistant work for an academy here in the city. I was maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In between theater jobs, and it was kind of fantastic because if I worked the night shift, I just had to man the computer and the telephone, so I could do some of my own work during the rest of the time, which was kind of nice. And I actually ended up writing a couple of articles about auditioning for Broadway for a website during that time. It was sort of like because somebody had to man the phone, so I was able to, I guess, sort of double dip in a way, because I was able to write the articles during my work hours. But
yeah.
I mean, if there was work to be done, I did it.
Were you like, "Judy Burnley, please hold. Judy Burnley, please hold"?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely.
Wait, I just want to Sue.
I'm in love with a man.
Wait, Sue said she had to alphabetize returned mail, and she only lasted 3 days.
Sue.
Oh my gosh, isn't that
That's a skill. I guess you would get better at it, because you'd have to start with like I'm gonna come up with bad examples, like Johnson could be spelled John or Jon.
That's true.
So but so if you're like trying to do it quickly,
oh right, yeah,
you're like Joh, like, you know, it's not just J.
Yeah.
I'm not making any sense, am I?
All right, let's start with the alphabet.
Hi everybody, welcome to AME.
When I first moved to New York, I also a couple of things. I've told people on during our Hago days, I used to talk about this, but when I first moved here, nobody knew who I was yet, and so for extra money, I learned this skill from a friend who's on this tour today. I tap danced in the subway, in the Times Square subway, in the hub of Times Square, down where, if you know where the NR trains are, I tap danced down there. And, you know, I made a few bucks, but at that point, you had to get a permit to perform in the subway, and you still do. And I didn't know that. So a police officer came by and wasn't rude. He was very kind about it, but told me that I needed to move along.
Nikki says, "Yes, sir." Also, Nani says "Full Monty?" ? Which I don't think you did it in the Full Monty. I think you were probably fully clothed when you tap danced.
Yes, I was fully clothed when I tap danced in the subway.
You were not an exotic tap dancer. But that
would be weird.
That's a really terrific segue to another
what?
job.
Oh, yes.
My very first theater
Stripper.
job.
What?
No. I made my professional debut as an actor in the Full Monty.
That's true, you did.
The national tour of the Full Monty was my very first job as an actor. I toured all over the country literally 20 years ago this month, I think.
Yeah.
So, You were probably making a joke, Full Monty question mark, but turns out it's,
You did
it
do
applies.
a production of the Full Monty, a really good production too.
It is. It's so true. Yeah.
But I also, when I first moved to New York, I knew I had one friend because I did summer stock before I moved to New York. And I moved here with a friend who helped me find a temp agency. She also, she worked on a little boat that went up and down the harbor, a little ship called the Spirit of New York. And there would be some singers on there that we waited tables, we served cocktails, and then we would do like a 15-minute set, like a show, of like a Broadway review. And so I did that too when I first moved to New York. And that was a really good job. I did well.
Yeah.
I did well there.
Hi, Ian. Ian says, "How are yous?" Also,
Ian?
somebody said, "How did?" No, I think a different Ian.
Oh, okay.
Somebody says, "How did you tell your parents, Aaron?" They were beyond thrilled. I mean, if you don't know the musical, The Full Monty, it's pretty fantastic.
That's a great show. A great score,
Yeah.
fun show, good story.
And they traveled to see the show, I think, 3 times. I think they came to see it in 3 different cities. Somebody else said, any more tours? We did a lot of tours. We both done a lot of tours.
Yeah, we both toured extensively. We actually met on doing the national tour of Billy Elliot. And a lot of you have heard this story probably, so I'll just for anyone who may not know this, we were a very condensed version. We toured together, we were friends, and we didn't start dating. And if you're not sure, Aaron and I are married. The old ball and chain, am I right? But we were friends on the Billy Elliot tour and didn't actually start dating until that tour ended. So and the funny thing is we'd become really good friends, and we roomed together and we took trips together on that tour. And it wasn't until we got home that we were like, oh, I think it's you. And and everybody that we worked with on that tour, of course, they were like, well, finally, you two are together. And we were like, well, we didn't know, we didn't think about it at the time. So anyway, we did meet on a tour, which was fun.
Thank you, Natasha. And prior to that tour, I also did a tour of Annie, the musical Annie. I played Mr. Bundles, the laundryman. I did that for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? I felt like you were gonna say something about it.
I like it's like the pivotal role of Mr. Bundles.
Well, I always say when somebody's like, "Oh, what's Annie about?" Because very few people have seen the show Annie, so they don't know what it's about. That's me being sarcastic. But if somebody says, "What is Annie about?" I'm like, "Well, it's about this laundryman. His name is Mr. Bundles, and he helps this young girl escape an orphanage that has put her in a rough position and helps her find a better life."
Does Mr. Bundles get the final bow? Nobody should.
I thought you were saying nobody should, but he should. Yeah. Correct. He should.
That's
right. It was a big mistake.
That's right.
Wait, okay, so before Billy Elliot,
other tours.
Billy Elliot, other tours.
We Billy Elliot.
Billy Elliot.
Billy Elliot. I've toured a lot. I toured with a show called The Producers, and one of the first tours I ever did was Singing in the Rain, and then the Mystery
of
the Mystery of Edwin Drood, a tour of Cinderella with Eartha Kitt. Does anybody remember Eartha Kitt?
Yes.
Rest in peace, Eartha. And I've toured other shows too. I just can't think of them. Oh, Joseph. I toured for a long time with Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat with Donny Osmond. That was a blast.
Go Joe.
Go Joe.
Yeah.
We've both toured extensively.
Talk amongst yourselves. Should I say? Wait.
I think you should say it.
Okay. So when speaking of tours, it's a good segue to go ahead and say that, yes. So we mentioned last week that there was some stuff coming up that we could talk about, and today officially the announcement came up, so I can officially talk about it, which is that I'm going on tour again. For some of you who tuned in with us before, you know I did Mrs. Doubtfire the musical here in New York City, and it's getting ready to hit the road out. It's going out on tour in mid-September. We started rehearsals today, and I will be touring with that. I'll see you there, Mickey. Yes. So I'll be playing the role of Frank, who is the brother of Mrs. Doubtfire, and and we're all over the country this next year. So definitely come check it out. It's a very funny show. I promise you will laugh a lot. And
Aaron's character, without giving anything away, has a very, very funny running joke throughout the show. So I promise. I promise you'll laugh.
Yeah. It is coming to Rochester, indeed. I don't think we're there for a bit, but it's coming to quite a few cities all around this country. So
Mark, yes, it's going to play the National in DC, and someone asked if it was coming to Toronto. We don't think so. So I'm so sorry about that.
No Sacramento. I was just in Sacramento though at the Music Circus with the Addams Family, which was great fun. Philadelphia, yes, Philadelphia. I can't remember when, but it's. Oh, Philadelphia is February, not till February. No Georgia, but Florida. All over Florida.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a website for the show where you can check out all the dates. It lists every city so far on the tour, which is you can check out.
MrsDoubtfireBroadway.com.
Yeah.
You can absolutely check that out.
Yeah. Wait, so check out Aaron on tour. Hope that wraps up our touring.
I think that
question,
wraps up our touring segment. Yes.
And I had a question for you.
Okay.
Do you remember what your very first job was?
Oh.
Not necessarily
not
theater related, but your very first job.
100%. Yeah. My very first job was I grew up in a small town in Illinois, and there was a program in the summertime in the sort of the public housing complex for the kids that lived in the complex. And so me and my two friends, Stacy and Leslie, we ran a program and we did activities with the kids. We played games. I tried to make them do shows. I was like, let's put on a show.
Yeah, you can do it. My mom can sew the costumes.
So I would do that during the day. And then there was a really terrific, I say terrific because it was a data entry office in my little tiny town. And it was open 24 hours. And so my high school friend Danielle, her parents owned it. And I went in, we covered this last week that I had taken typing in school. So I was a pretty good typer. So I went and I took their typing test and they said, yes, I could work there. And so I would work during the day. I would do the activities with the kids. Then I would go do community theater at night. And then after that, I would go do the data entry until 1 a.m. I would do it from maybe 9 until 1. And it was me and 4 other women who did the late night shift. And I loved it. I loved it so much.
Did you take typing more than 1 year or just 1 year?
I did. I took it twice.
I think you took the same class twice?
No, I did typing 1 and typing 2.
Oh, I think
I got held back. I had to take typing again. I shouldn't laugh. That's a possible thing.
I guess it is possible.
Yeah.
No, I only took 1 year, but regardless, you're just my type. Bing.
You set me up for that.
Okay.
Set me up for that.
And I even put my microphone that I made sure it was really loud.
Wait, I want to say one more thing about the typing job. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. I promise?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, they had a snack room, teeny tiny snack room. Don't think Google snack room. It's massive. It was probably a vending machine and one little thing. Anyway, all this to say is I would get basically every night the same chocolate brownie from the the little vending area, and 1 can of Coca-Cola Classic. And it was when I hit the 2-hour mark, I got to have my treat. And me and the other women, we would all take our quick little break and have.
That was just your personal rule, after 2 hours, or was that the company rule?
No, my personal rule. The cool thing is because it was data entry, you could sort of start and stop whenever you wanted. But I was I have to do 2 hours of work, and then I get to have my brownie and my Coca-Cola Classic.
You're so good. I would have been popping those brownies the whole night. Very good. First job. My first job was, honestly, And your first job too probably was working on the farm, doing something on the farm.
Well, that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
But you probably
Because we both grew up on farms. Me in Southern Illinois, Patrick in Southern Maryland.
Yeah, and I worked on tobacco farms as a kid. Our next door neighbor had a big tobacco farm, and I worked in their farm for summer spending money. But I also I delivered papers for for Tracy Howie's dad.
Oh, right.
And I just saw anyway. I delivered papers my senior year of high school. I would go out and deliver, not like a paper boy route. I would drop off like bundles of papers to the paper boys' houses, that kind of thing. And I did that my senior year of high school, and then it helped me pay for all the stuff you have to pay for.
Right.
There's your yearbook and your ring and all the stuff you have to pay for, your prom. And that helped me pay for all that extra stuff, which was nice.
Yeah.
A corsage for my date.
Perfect. Mickey, it was flat, but it wasn't hard as a brick. It was packaged. So, and it was always, I wish I could remember the name of the brand of it, because I would find that online and order it and enjoy that brownie all over again.
Mimi, you got fired for reading a book. Wait, I'm just catching up on the chat. Mimi, I finished my work early and read a book. Well, you finished your work. Why'd they fire you?
Lynn's first job was a kennel aide to greyhounds. Interesting. Lots of babysitting as first jobs. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's a common first job. Justin was a paper boy too.
You were a paper boy.
Justin,
yay.
did you bike as a paper boy, or were you a walking or a driving paper boy? Curious to know that. Oh, I gotta switch back over here.
Okay, we're getting called. My first job was a kennel aide to greyhounds. Oh, how fun. Lots of babysitting. Yes. Kennel
Bike.
maid. Yeah.
Justin was on a bike.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, that was my first job, and I think early on I also worked at like a sportswear store, like a store in my county that sold like not uniforms, like what do they wear?
Uniforms,
yeah,
for sports.
Yeah, for sport, like
Yeah.
sports
Costumes.
uniforms. That's what I was.
Baseball
That's what I was
costume.
thinking. It's called a costume, right?
When I graduated from high school, I went to college. I went to Boston University, and I did work study programs. So my first job, because I really wanted to be involved with theater, my first job at Boston University, I don't think they have this connection anymore, but Boston University used to be connected to the Huntington Theater in Boston. And they might still have that connection. But anyway, I worked in the props, or if you don't know what props are, it's what you carry on stage. Like if you're like, I'm explaining props horribly. Can you help me explain props?
Props in
Yeah.
general
Yes.
for a theater, props are anytime you pick up like if you use a glass
Yeah.
in a scene, that's a prop. Yeah.
I just realized some people might not know what props are.
Properties, yeah.
Properties. So I worked in the props department at the Huntington Theater. It was my first work study job. And the very first thing they had me do is the props mistress was like, we need you to organize our artificial flowers. So I went into this like attic, and I had to organize them by color, so that if they were like, we want red flowers, they could go to the red section. It took me probably 2 months to organize all the artificial flowers they had.
You didn't know your colors?
Oh, I knew my colors. I didn't know my flowers. I mean, if she had me organize them, I'm much better with flowers right now. If she had me organize
You
them,
are really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty good now. But if she had me organize zinnias, hydrangea.
Oh, Aaron
black
did this
daisy.
arrangement.
Yeah, I'm better with flowers
The
now.
proof is in the arrangement.
But at the time, not so much. But I don't think I did it as a rainbow display, okay? I don't think I did. But then I had to help with other stuff in the props department. And okay, so I just want to tell this one little fun story.
Listening.
I forget what the production was. I think it was Stephen Sondheim's company.
Okay.
But in the scene, the actor had to put a piece of toast in a toaster.
Okay.
And then the toaster had to come out toasted, or the toast had to come out toasted. But they didn't have electricity in the scene. So we had to figure out a way that there could be, that they put in plain bread into the toast.
And then toast came
Yeah,
out.
and then toast came out. And so what we did was we took 2 pieces of bread, put them in the toaster at the same time, and it toasted the outside of the 2 pieces but left the inside plain. So the actor did a quick sleight of hand, like popped the toaster and just pulled it out and only showed the audience the toasted side.
Voila.
Voila, toast. Isn't that fun?
That is fun. I'm just also catching up on some of the first jobs, which make me so happy. I have so many questions, Mark from Maryland, that you were a cashier in a parking garage in Midtown Manhattan when you were 8. Is that a typo, or were you really 8? Taking tickets at the stadium, Tracy, secretary at a university, and a bakery. Hillary, you worked at a bakery. That's danger zone for me. I mean, it would be heaven. But
Stay
danger.
tuned on that. That's going to come up again in just a little bit when I have another question for Patrick.
You were good at math. You were good at math. You were an 8-year-old genius.
Cindy does organizing. I think you've posted about that before because you've asked us about how we store stuff in our apartment. And somebody else said, I need your services. Swim teacher, manager. Oh, Mark says, my father was the manager. I was indeed 8.
Oh my gosh, that is wild.
Did you get
So you got to
tips?
work with your dad. That's cool.
Yeah. Because you were 8, did you, like, I would be
Yeah.
like,
I'm so hungry.
please, sir, can I have some more?
Yeah.
Will you tip me more? Please, sir. But then in college, after I stopped working at the props department, I then switched to working in the student activities office. And I did that the entire rest of college. I worked in student activities, and I loved it. I would help the groups on campus organize their events and rallies and anything going on campus. I helped make sure that they had the right, permits to do it on, because we were a city school in the city. I made sure they had like the food they needed, all of that. And I loved it so much. And that helped pay for college. I did that the rest of my college time. 3.5
That's really
years.
cool.
Yeah.
Tracy and other ring question. For some reason, our camera, it's flipped. We don't know why. Mike thinks we hit something in one of the settings, but we don't know why. So our rings are definitely on our left hands, but the camera's flipped. So I don't know why. And so Tracy, we are sitting like we normally do, but again, the camera's flipped. We don't know why.
Yeah.
We'll try to fix that next.
We're not sure. Sorry to throw everybody with that.
Mickey taught his first tap class at 13. My goodness. And look at him.
Yeah. Look at him now.
Do you have you have a question?
I can ask a question if
Okay.
you'd like me to. Okay, so, you know what? We talked about our jobs on tour, but we haven't talked about our jobs on Broadway.
Okay.
Because those are our jobs as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so what shows have you done on Broadway?
Oh,
You don't remember?
I do. I mean, I don't know if I'll remember all of them, but my very first show was a huge flop that only ran a few weeks called Ain't Broadway Grand. Mickey Bailey, sorry, I didn't mean to give away your name. Mickey was there at the opening night performance. And then I did Annie Get Your Gun. I did The Producers, Spamalot, and other things. The Drowsy Chaperone, a show with Dame Edna called All About Me. Other stuff.
Andrew said, currently lost your job, looking for a new job. So good for you, put it out there. If anybody needs somebody to work, Andrew needs a job.
Have you tried tap dancing in the subway, Andrew?
On a pizza box.
It works.
Yeah. Me, Billy Elliot, Sister Act, Motown, Something Rotten,
Right, something wrong.
Hello Dolly, and and Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh yes.
Which is a nice segue for those of you that might have missed it earlier. We were talking about I'm getting ready to go on the road with Mrs. Doubtfire, and that's not the segue. The segue then is Lisa asked, "Is touring a hard job?" I think you mean touring with theater as opposed to our virtual touring that we have done as well.
I mean, we kind of love it because we get to travel around and get to see things, and
obviously there are aspects that are hard. You're usually in a new city every single week, so you're in a new hotel with a new bed.
And if you have to sing, if it's a big singing show, being in different climates on a weekly basis can make it a roller coaster on your chords.
Yeah. You're away from, like, Patrick will still be here in New York. I'm going on tour, so that will be difficult for us. But we will. Patrick will come out quite a bit, and I'll come back on some of our days off so that we can see each other. But that part is difficult. But there's certainly like fun stuff too. You get to, like you said, you get to see the country. You get to hit cities where you've got friends and family, so it's easier for friends and family to get to see you perform. They don't have to come to New York.
And you get to go to places that you wouldn't necessarily go visit otherwise. Madison, Wisconsin was a surprise for me. I'd never played there when I was on tour with the Prom. I went there and I was like, oh, I've never been to Madison. This is a really cool town. So, that's kind of a cool thing to get to see different things. Someone mentioned that you got such great reviews, and Adam's Family will not tour. Sadly, no. That was just at the theater there in Northern California. That's not going to tour, but.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah,
and I hope to do that role again because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I will say one other difficult thing about touring is food, because we take our kitchens for granted when we're at home, and of course when you travel, it seems fun getting to eat out, but when you literally travel every single day of the year, and that's your option is to eat out, that gets tricky. So I have a mini coffee maker. I'm going to travel, and I'll get creative with some meals in the hotel rooms.
We don't do this, but we know a lot of people who travel with cookware. They'll bring out a hot plate, in their hotel room, or a hot pot, or.
I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah. I mean, I've never done that. That seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
To travel it but people do it, which is remarkable.
We get a per diem. Somebody's asking how that all works. We get a per diem. Hey, go meetups in each city on the tour. We'll see about that. I don't know how demanding the show's going to be yet, or what the schedule's going to be like for me yet. But if I can, then why not? It's not even so much about paying for your food as it is just eating out for every meal.
Yeah.
Right? Especially because I like to cook. So that's always tricky.
I love talking about theater jobs, and I want to talk more about it.
Okay.
But I have other things I want to say. But before we leave theater jobs, because we'll probably come back to theater jobs, because that is what we do. We work in the theater. But do you remember where you were? When you got the phone call for your first Broadway show?
Completely. Yeah, I was staying at the Chase Park Plaza in St. Louis, working at the St. Louis Muni at the time. And my agent called.
This was Billy Elliot.
This was Billy Elliot. My agent called, and I owed him a phone call because they wanted me to fly back for an audition from St. Louis, and I didn't want to spend the money, and I just didn't think I was right for this audition. And I was putting off my answer because I knew my agent wanted me to fly back for it, and I just didn't want to. And so he called, and I literally picked up, and I was like, Michael, I am so sorry. I just don't think I should fly back for this audition. It seems silly to spend the money and to ask the Muni for this time off. And he said, that's okay, don't worry about it, because you booked Billy Elliot on Broadway. I was like, what?
That's the best part. Yeah. A friend of mine years ago said the best part about getting a job in theater, the best part about the job is getting the phone call, getting the offer, because and it kind of is.
Yeah.
Like that's the most exciting part.
Yeah.
When you found out that you got it.
Where were you?
I was living in an apartment in Midtown, and I got the phone call that I got. I think the final audition was on like a Thursday or a Friday. And then on Monday, I think is when, like in the morning, like around 10 a.m., they called. This is like pre-caller ID, pre-cell phone, all of that stuff. So, you just answer the phone. And I remember they told me that I got it, and they were giving me all the information, but I was so excited that I was jumping up and down on the couch, on the sofa, but like answering them like, yes.
Like you were
Sure,
normal, yeah.
yes. Like I don't want them to know that I'm jumping up and down on the couch, but I was so excited that I just had to like jump up and down and like pretend like I was having a normal conversation.
Wait, I want to tell one more booking theater job.
Yeah.
Patty Joe's on. Yay.
Oh, hi, Patty
I
Jo.
call my dad, Patty Joe, who you know. I called my dad first, right away, and that was before Patrick and I were together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Patrick would have been first. Which this next story, Patrick was first.
Oh, yes.
So I did Hello Dolly, the revival on Broadway, with Bette Midler, which was fantastic, and entrance applause for Bette Midler. But it was a director I had worked for before. And without giving the entire story, because it can be long, basically, the cast was done. They were done casting the show, and I never even auditioned for it because I just didn't think I was fully right for the show, based on knowing that people would have to cover principals, and specifically knowing that like I couldn't cover Horace Van de Gelder in the show. And then I found out somebody dropped out, a character guy who I know, who didn't have to cover Horace Van de Gelder. So I called my agent and I was like, somebody dropped out of Hello Dolly. We were doing Something Rotten at the time, but Something Rotten was getting ready to close. So I was desperately looking for a new job. I called my agent, I was like, Hello Dolly, somebody dropped out, what can we do? She calls me back like a half hour later. I spoke to casting. They're gonna cast somebody based off of who they've already seen in the auditions months ago. I said, no problem, I get that. I never even auditioned for it. I can't complain about that. A few days later, she calls me and she's like, actually, the director wants to see you next Friday morning, if you're okay with that. And I was like, yes, of course. Again, a director I've worked with before, but not that much. Like, he doesn't know me that well. I replaced in Sister Act, which he also directed. So I replaced halfway through the run. Anyway, I go to this audition Friday morning, 10 a.m. I'm ready. I know my scene for the show. I got my song ready. I do the whole audition. It goes great. I walk out the audition and I'm like getting my bag ready and I see the reader walk out. And if you don't know what a reader is, it's another actor they've hired to be in the room with you to be your scene partner for your scenes that they've asked you to prepare. I see the reader leave and the reader says, great job. I said, oh, thank you so much. And I'm thinking, why is the reader leaving? I was the first person of the day. There have to be more people. But I think, well, maybe he's just going to the bathroom or something. I pack up my bag, I start to leave. The reader is riding the elevator out the door with me. So I fully, in the middle of Times Square, left the building, walked across the street and called Patrick, and I was like, I think the audition was only for me. I'm gonna stay on the line with you so it looks like I'm doing something, until I see them leave the building. And sure enough, the director then left the building. I was like, the audition was only for me. Oh my gosh, I think that was just me. I was like, okay, so we hang up, I come home, and I was like a nervous wreck. I literally this is so bizarre, I started chopping all the vegetables we had in our fridge. I don't know why I remember that. I remember trying to take a nap and just laying there with my eyes wide open.
Trying to take a nap?
Yeah, I was like, and then finally my phone rang and it was my agent's name. And I was like, hi. And she was like, well, you're going to get the official offer on Monday, but it's yours.
Oh, well, why? It was a cliffhanger.
You
Like,
didn't
we
know.
weren't sure if you were going to get it.
Right.
He did the show,
Yeah.
but I was still like wondering if you got it or not.
It was
That's a good
crazy.
story.
Yeah, it was a wild one.
We
Anyway.
also had planned a trip, and Aaron said, if I get this job, we're going to upgrade to a better hotel, because we were planning this trip that we were taking.
We were staying very, very budget.
Yeah,
hotel.
yeah. And then after that phone call, when he found out the audition was for him, he called me back a little while later and said, we're upgrading.
It's
So I knew
happening.
he had gotten the job,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
was
yeah.
exciting.
Anyway, that was about booking a theater job. Do you have a question or you want me to go?
You can go. I mean, I do have a question, but...
Okay, I'll go. Or do
Okay.
you go? You go.
Do you want me to go or not?
Sure, go for it.
This is not a loaded question. Have you ever been fired?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah. Yeah. You may not know the story, but yes.
I don't know that I do.
I got fired from Hago. I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
No, but I really have been fired. This was sort of one of my in-between survival gigs. So there's, I don't think we've ever shown it on one of our tours, but the Jacob Javits Center is the convention center. Jacob Javits. The Javits Center.
The
Yeah.
Javits Center.
The Javits Center is the convention center here in New York City.
Yeah.
West Side in the 30s. huge convention center. And I got hired by a friend who had worked for another company. They were doing a greeting card convention.
Seems up your alley.
Yeah. So this greeting card company hired me through my friend Kathy, and then Kathy was like, "Do you have two other people that you could bring along as well?" So I picked two people that she knew as well. We actually had it was actually a husband from somebody on the Annie tour and two husbands from people on the Annie tour, and Kathy was also on the Annie tour. So we're all kind of connected because I thought if Kathy's going to ask me, I'll get people she kind of knows as well, because Kathy didn't live in New York at the time.
Okay.
So we were hired to pass out greeting cards outside of the Javits Center, along with, wait for it, pickles, because this company thought it would be bizarre and funky if you got a pickle and a greeting card, and they would, I don't know.
Huh.
We ran out of pickles quickly, but
Well, they were popular.
yeah, they were popular. But then, so I did that for one day. I was on one corner by the Javits Center. Mickey was on another corner, and then Dave, Liz's Dave, Mickey, Julie's Mickey.
Yeah.
Dave was like down the block. And the idea being is that people would get the greeting card, see it, be like, "Oh, this is cool. I want to go to this booth." And there was a sticker on the back of the card that said which booth it was at.
Okay.
Because the idea was to then, like Hallmark would come to this convention center and be like, "These are funny cards. We want to sell them in
Mickey.
our store." Yeah. So anyway, people, I think were getting our greeting cards and putting them in, like, in a hotel they have the pamphlets, like, go see this cavern, go see these antique stores.
Yeah.
They were shoving them in the pamphlets inside the lobby of the Javits Center. So then we got in trouble for passing out these cards that we were hired to pass out by the company, and the company threw us under the bus and fired us.
They said you were putting them in there. The
Yes.
flyer hander-outers.
The company said the flyer hander-outers, because they thought
We're just shoving them in the thing.
Yeah, because
to
they
get
thought
rid
we
of them.
wanted to do it to get rid of them, and so we got fired. And it was good money.
That's an unjust firing.
I couldn't agree more, and I was livid about it.
Yeah.
I was very angry, and I haven't eaten a pickle to this day. True story.
Well, I am so sorry about that. I'm sorry to hear about that, Aaron.
What about you?
I-
You. Wait.
Have I been fired? Was
No,
I
you haven't been fired. No, I was thinking. I don't know why I was thinking you told us about a story you didn't
I
tell
eat
earlier.
pickles.
What about you? Have you been fired?
No, I haven't been fired, but I did have an offer like rescinded. Because I got an offer for a job, and then I started asking questions about the benefits of the job, and like how does this get covered? What about this? And then they like went silent. All of a sudden I stopped hearing. Like, they initially were like, "We'd like to make an offer for this job." I won't say what the show was, because it was a show that
Hamilton.
No, it wasn't Hamilton. It was from many years ago, and a good friend of ours.
It wasn't Hamilton. You can still call us Hamilton.
A friend of ours, a good friend of ours, was associated with this show.
Okay.
Yeah, they rescinded the offer. I was asking, like, how do I get health insurance? How do I get, and they stopped. They were like, okay, well, let me, give you a ring back. And then I kept calling, and I was like, what's going on? And they were like, he was always in a meeting, or he was always, this or that. And then finally I got wise, and I called and said I was somebody else. And they put me right through to this man. And I was like, it's Patrick. And he was like, and then he fessed up. But I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Not really, but just because I had questions about the contract. But I think I probably dodged a bullet, if I'm being honest, in that job.
Okay, so I'm curious to know, what was your favorite job you've ever had?
My favorite job?
Do you have a favorite?
I mean, I can tell you that my ideal job is donut taster, but that never seems to come up in the job listings.
It's weird.
But
it's really weird.
I will say a show called The Drowsy Chaperone was hands down my favorite job of all time. I loved it. And the prom. I mean, I love doing the prom
Oh,
too.
yeah. I would say show-wise, either Something Rotten or Hello Dolly for me. Something Rotten, I loved doing the show. Hello Dolly, so, something that the audience doesn't always think about is that you have a lot of backstage traffic and time as well. And our dressing room at Hello Dolly was packed because there were so many men in the show. It was packed. We were packed in like sardines, and we had so much fun in that dressing room. And so that was part of that. But in non-theater jobs, I think I'm gonna have to go with that data entry job where I got my brownie and my Coca-Cola every single night. I loved that gig. I loved it because it was like on our own. I could listen to music while I think I put in people's tax forms. I just would input information. I could listen to music. But if you had a problem, you could like pause and be like, Judy, how do I put this in? And we would like laugh about it. So it was like communal, but also on your own. And I got a brownie and a Coca-Cola every night.
Oh my gosh, that's the best part.
Loved. Yeah. Someone said, "Were you Rodolfo in The Drowsy Chaperone?" Rodolfo. No.
Adolfo.
Oh yeah, Adolfo.
Adolfo. No, I was not. That was played by the fantastic and hilarious Danny Burstein, who was nominated for a Tony for that performance, and he was so good.
Okay, so that was your favorite job. What was your worst job?
My worst job.
Theater or non-theater?
I can tell you.
Okay.
I was asked when I was temping and trying to just like make extra money. I got a call about playing Santa at an office party that was happening at a bowling alley, which was just like, oh, hey, hi everyone, Santa's here. Santa loves bowling.
Did you bowl as Santa?
No, I didn't bowl.
Oh,
I just was there and handed out the gifts, like Secret Santa gifts. But it wasn't a secret because he was there.
I would say that you would think that passing out cards and pickles job was my worst job because I got fired from it. But I actually enjoyed it and was good at it. And Mickey and Dave and I had a good time.
I believe that you were good at it. You're good at everything that you do.
That's not entirely true, but it was fun. It was good. So I don't know what my worst job was, to be honest. I have to think on that. And I even posed the question, but I don't. It'll come to me.
Yeah. Well, you think on that.
I will.
Okay. We answered that. There's also like one more thing about theater. There's a thing, when a show closes, and especially if it's a surprise to everyone, that's a bummer to lose that job. When you get your closing notice. Two closing notice stories. We both have had various closing notices in regards to time. Sometimes I've gotten, a few months notice, like this show, we're going to close the show in the spring, or sometimes I've gotten the notice where they're like, we're closing next week. And because they only have to give you a week's notice, I think. But, if they can plan it out, some producers will plan out. So that's always a sad thing when you get the closing notice for your show.
Honestly, for those of you that were Hago viewers, that's what it felt. That's what it felt like to us.
It felt like we got our closing notice for the show. That's exactly what it felt like. We felt like this. Oh man.
Yeah, it was a good family,
and for anyone who may not know, who might be on here that doesn't know what Hago was, it was a virtual touring. Most people on here probably do, but it was a virtual touring company. Created by these two fantastic guys in London, and that's how we started doing these tours.
Parker said, "What'd you pass out in the bowling alley? Lucky Strikes and a Pabst Blue Ribbon, a good old PBR." I remember I thought of my worst job. So when I was in high school, I just wanted to like make money. I knew I wanted to go to a private school for college.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to need to save a lot of money. I think I knew I wanted to move to New York after college as well. So that's why I was doing that day job of the kids' activities, doing the night job of the data entry. And then sometimes there was this woman who went to our church who, she was older, but she had kind of a big yard. And she needed these weeds. Like I had a machete and I had to hack these weeds out. I hated that job so much, being in the middle of these giant weeds, hacking at it. And the only good part about it is she would pay me, and she also give me a Cracker Jack box.
Well, that does.
Or
sound
Crunch and Munch, one or the other.
Oh.
But it was in the blistering heat
That
in the
sounds miserable.
summertime,
Yeah.
just hacking these weeds away by myself too. If I had been with somebody, because I say this all the time, I think you probably feel the same. If you're with the right people at your job, I'll do a lot of work. I'll put up with whacking weeds. I'll put up with toilet cleaning or scooping doo-doo that people have mentioned in the comments. If I'm with the right people,
Yeah.
we make it fun.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it's all about if your work environment is really fun and you're working with great people. It doesn't really matter what you're doing,
Yeah.
to get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, it does matter. We won't do anything, but no, that we will. Anyway, Mickey said mention the legacy rope. There's a cool thing on opening nights of Broadway shows where the person in the ensemble who has done the most Broadway shows will receive what is now called the legacy robe, and it's a whole tradition that's has been around since 1950 in the production of
Gypsy, wasn't it?
no, Gentlemen
Gypsy.
Prefer Blondes.
Yeah.
So one chorus member passed on a robe that he had to another chorus member of a new show that was opening, and the show Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and that tradition stuck around, and then the ensemble person kept passing the robe to the next show that was opening and the next show that was opening. And that tradition still is around today. It's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
On opening nights of Broadway musicals. So that's, and I got the it used to be called the Gypsy robe. Now it's called the Legacy robe. And I received the robe for the Drowsy Chaperone, which was a lot of fun. And there's all these things you have to do. You have to put the robe on, and every show puts on a new patch on the robe. And when the robe gets filled up, they make a new robe. But and you have to run around in the circle, and everybody has to touch the robe for luck 3 times, and the robe has to visit every dressing room that night. And there's all these things.
Bless the dressing room.
Yeah, so you kind of it's kind of a cool.
There's
cool
one at the
tradition.
Smithsonian. It's a big
Yeah,
deal. It's
yeah.
a big theater tradition.
Yeah.
Crunch and Munch. Somebody said, yeah, it's sort of like a caramel popcorn. It's similar to Cracker Jack. Is Cracker Jack's? as well.
Cindy Greenlee, prison staff retiree. You worked at a prison. That's so fascinating.
I only have one more question. Should I launch into my last question?
Yes, you
Okay.
should. Thanks, Mickey.
Tell me a job you would like to do, and you can't say donut taster.
A job I would like to do.
You can't say cake or cookie tester either.
No, I won't. I mean, that's number one. That's definitely number one. But I can tell you the number 2 would be ideal job. I mean,
Do you want me to go while you think?
sure,
Okay.
sure.
So somebody mentioned earlier they worked in a bakery, and I would love to work in a bakery, but I would love to get to work in a bakery where I'm not obliged to make the same thing every day. So that, maybe a coffee shop bakery. So people come in and they're like, ooh, what'd you make today? What do you get to, so I could try different recipes and put out different treats. And that to me would be a blast. Because I feel like if I worked in a bakery and I had to make the exact same cakes and cookies every day,
Yeah.
I would get bored.
Yeah.
But if I got to switch it up and also part of that too is I think it would be fun. I would enjoy for repeat customers coming in to be like, oh, what'd you make today? And I was like, cheese scones or
Yeah.
I don't know. That a part I would like.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that I just worked at a theater camp a couple of weeks ago, and I loved working with the kids. It was really cool. We talked about this on one of the other out of our at-home chats. I loved watching those light bulbs go on and watching that connection. That was really cool to see. And more importantly than that, I loved when kids couldn't get something, and so I would change my approach, and then they would get it. That felt so cool.
Oh, yeah.
That felt rewarding. To be like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe some sort of teacher, or this came up in our last chat too. But some sort of like social work, you know,
Mhm.
that seems interesting to me. You know, helping people, that seems like a really helpful job.
Somebody asked, what jobs would you have if you stayed in your hometown? And I think I probably wouldn't do the bakery job because I think it would probably be too hard to sustain in my hometown. But yeah, some sort of social work. Maybe I would have been a teacher if I'd stayed in my hometown. I mean, my hometown is small, so you know it's a little bit more limited in terms of careers and jobs, and as opposed to a large city. For example, it's not like I could be a professional actor in Carlinville.
Oh, well, you could.
I'm barely a professional actor here in New York. If you've seen my work, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Wait, I have one more question. Have you ever turned down a job?
Oh, yes. I mean, in theater I have. Only because of like other work.
Yeah, oh, right. of
Never, I don't think I've ever turned down something.
course. When you didn't have work.
Yeah.
I don't think I have either. Like, I've turned down auditions,
Sure,
which
I've done that
isn't
too.
exactly like
Yeah.
work, but you know.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, you'll get a call, your agent might call about an audition, and you're like, you read it, and you're like, this isn't me, and I'm not going to fare well
Yeah.
in the audition, so I don't want to look bad.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, honestly, sometimes I'm like, you're calling me on Monday, and you want me to audition tomorrow, and this is not enough time for me to learn this material.
And you went and learned these 30 pages of material, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've turned down auditions.
Yeah,
as well.
I certainly have. I don't think I've ever turned down a job, like when not having another job. I don't think I have.
When I booked that Hello Dolly, remember I was supposed to do the show Assassins at Yale
Oh,
Rep.
yes.
And I wanted to do it so bad. A Sondheim show that not many people do. They were doing it at Yale Repertory Theater, and I got cast in it. And I was so excited to do it because no one does it. And then I got Hello Dolly with Bette Midler, so that kind of trumped it. I kind of had to.
Ian, what kind of auditions were they? I know I've turned down auditions for like what we just talked about. Like if I felt like it was not right for me, or if I felt like, you know, you don't want to turn down auditions, but you also, when there's so many, there's only a handful of casting directors here in New York, so you also want to look good, you know. So if you know that you're not going to fare well, you're not going to look good doing this material, you know, it's almost like, I'm trying to think of a comparison. If you're like, I look awful in yellow, you know what I mean? And then they're like, you have to wear, this is a bad comparison, but like,
I was just trying to see where you were going.
I don't know. Or if you don't sing, what if you're tone deaf and they're like, you have to sing for this audition, and you're like, I'm gonna look bad because I know I don't sing, and you know, so I'll turn down something that I know isn't right for me.
We are near the end of our time.
No, we are. That was fast.
We are.
Oh my gosh, we are.
I know. We only have like a couple minutes left.
No, let's just keep going on.
So I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything before we wrap up, job or career-wise, that you wanted to say or ask before we mentioned some stuff about our page as well.
I guess not. I like these talks. I like these chats at home. So
I know,
much.
I do too. Well, we'll do more.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't worry. Yeah.
All right.
We'll do more.
All right.
So for those of you that don't know, part of the reason we did today as a job one was because I have a new show, a new theater job that I'm doing, which, if you tuned in late, is the national tour of Mrs. Doubtfire. So I'll be leaving New York in 1 month to hit the road, and we'll be roughly in a new city every single week. So you'll be seeing a lot of content popping up on our page from all over the country. We'll still be doing our talks. When Patrick comes out to visit or when I come home, we'll still be doing our at-home talks. Don't worry about that. Absolutely, that's not going away. And as far as what's on our page, last week a rerun of our Union Square tour went up. Today, a rerun of our Coney Island tour went up. We did Coney Island for Hago, and it was a beautiful day on Coney Island that we went and did that tour. Wednesday is a premiere tour of Madison Square Park.
Yeah.
and it was a beautiful day.
And what we mean by a premiere, just in case anybody doesn't know, it just means that we'll be on the tour. It's a pre-recorded tour that we already recorded, but it goes up on Wednesday, and we will be on that tour. So we'll be able to chat throughout that tour, and I don't know.
Somebody's asking how long that one is. I want to say it was 30. It's going to be about 35 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think it was 35 or 40 minutes. I'm trying to look right now, and it's not telling me as I look at our content. But I think when we finished putting it all together, it was about 35 or 40 minutes for that Madison Square Park tour.
Yeah.
That's all I really have. Do you have anything else you would like to say? Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you. That's awfully kind. No, I don't have anything specific, but thank you all for joining us for these at homes. They're, we love doing these. We love doing all the tours, but these are a lot of fun, and it's a way that we can connect with you and not have to worry so much about a signal that's there or not there. On a live tour. We will try to do more live out and about tours again. It's just with this new way of doing it, it gets a little tricky because sometimes we have a signal and sometimes we don't. But we love doing these, and thank you all so much for joining us.
Mark, the Doubtfire tour is scheduled through next July at this point, so that's currently the schedule.
Again, you can check the schedule on. Is it
MrsDoubtfireBroadway.com.
MrsDoubtfireBroadway.com. Someone asked earlier if it was going to San Fran. Yes, it is sometime next year.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the exact dates. But he will be in San Francisco at that point. But you can check out all of those dates, MrsDoubtfireBroadway.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Thank you all for joining us. We will see you probably next week. But we'll probably do it on maybe Sunday or so.
Yeah.
But we'll see you again very, very soon.
Also, if you don't already do this, most of you probably do, but on YouTube, subscribe to us, like us, leave a comment, all of those things that we all know what to do. It all helps. Thank you for the support.
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Bye.